the next hour. In case you're able to stay for this next hour, I just kind of want to give a heads up about what this next hour is. This next hour is just having a discussion with those on the panel about your personal ideas about what the general strike should look like, or what the revolution should look like, whatever that is. If you say, hey, we should do these steps, blah, 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 sort of like you were giving your suggestions there for demands, same sort of thing. That's what this next discussion will be about, and that's what Skye and Josanna is joining us for. So, Skye, good to see you, because I haven't been on camera with you in a long time, but because considering what happened to you recently, can you speak on that, or is that something you're trying to just get past?
I don't, you know, I don't care.
So do you know what happened? Do you know why? Well, let me just say, your account was suspended on Twitter. I mean, how many followers or how many subscribers or followers, that is correct, did you have when you were cut? I
had like 39.
Yeah. Can you believe that? Yeah. So they cut her account, 39,000 followers. And do you have any idea why? Because they always kind of give a generalization.
I know what they said. They said that it was for hate speech. But that's not what it was for. The last tweet, someone said something to me about me hating white people because I was speaking badly about Kyle Rittenhouse, and I have a lot of people who are on the right, and they were sucking his dick. So of course I was disgusted, not for the reason that people think. I believe he was a federal agent, and he was placed in there, and they were hunting. I don't think the victims, I think they wish there were black victims. They wish there were more black victims. The main victims, like, trust me, like, they knew that there was going to be a problem, and it was set up to pretty much take our rights. So when they're acting like he's a hero, I'm like, no, I'm scared about the president this said. I don't give a fuck about Kyle Rittenhouse. He can go fuck himself. And but I was sitting there saying that he was a crisis actor and that he was a federal agent, and that this is just all take our rights because the CIA don't stop doing CIA shit. People were like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Bro, if you look at the past of what they do to movements, if you look at the past of what they've done to revolutionaries, if you look how they infiltrated and co-opted, if you look at the media and what they have done in the media, the CIA didn't stop doing this shit. Operation Mockingbird didn't stop. This is things that are known. So once that happened, some random bot account came and baited me. I fell for it. I was just being sarcastic, and he was like, oh, you hate all white people. You're just another racist black. And I was like, hell yeah, death to whitey, LOL. And then bam, within a second.
Wow.
So now I'm like, all right, maybe it was algorithmic, but I kind of knew. But because when I'm talking about the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, this is what's suspicious. When I was talking about the Kyle Rittenhouse, before they suspended me, they logged me out my account. Okay. And if I just got suspended for hate speech, my business account on IG has been deleted. And my in real life business has been deleted. That account. It doesn't matter. I'll get by on word of mouth. Like, when
absolutely.
Reckless, like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I already knew that things were going to happen eventually. Now, I was surprised that it instantly went to IG because supposedly they're not supposed to combine each other. But my main IG account is still there, but I can't get into it because I'm locked out. I can get into my creep IG account, but I have to get in from
my creep IG account.
But I have to get in from another phone. So anything I get on from my device, I had an alternative Twitter account, got on from the same device, instantly suspended. So I can get all that. But yeah, and I said so much worse shit before than that. Like, I call people, like, I say so much fucked up shit. If anyone follows me on Twitter, you know I'm constantly like, I'm constantly triggering people on
That's
purpose.
where your name, that's why you have the name that you had at the, or Miss Uncancelable or something like that. Yeah.
I told them Jack was the only thing that was going to shut me up.
Right.
So I said so much worse. So to me, it was just.
Yeah, no, and I think, I don't know, do people understand that there are actors on Twitter that go in just to incite, to try to get you so that you say something out of anger so that you get your account closed, big account.
Exactly. Yeah,
like, people need to understand there's people who are there just to incite you. But I'm sorry. So But again, I'm glad to see that you're here and still made it. I'm glad. I instantly was thinking, wow, they don't want her voice on the General Strike Summit. That's what I was thinking. I was like, this thing is coming. They're hearing this. She has a big voice, and they don't want her on there. But I'm glad, we had your contact information, and you reached out, or we reached out. I can't remember. And you're here. So let's get into the conversation. And Unapologetic and I forget who else will be joining the conversation in just a little bit. So what the topic is of this segment, and it plays well what your segment case is, you talked about, sort of like lessons from the past. Let's see. Let's go ahead. Here we go. Let's add him in there. How you doing, sir?
Morning, everyone.
Right. Introduce yourself, sir.
Shareef Snuggs, co-founder, activist, and organizer for the March for Medicare for All. How you guys doing this morning?
Doing good.
Doing good. Shareef, this is the first time you and I have spoken and met, so very happy to see you here. I'm going to let Josanna kind of say her thing and kind of take over, and I'm going to be here. But Josanna, I just set up what this hour is, kind of talking about your ideas for what the revolution should look like, your ideas for what a general strike should look like. Shareef has a very, very good setup that he's gonna be talking. There goes Unapologetic. What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm good. You know what? Something funny. I was actually watching the stream on my phone until you said my name, and I realized.
Yes. I was told maybe. Hey, we're happy to have you anyway. I was told that you were going to be here, so that's why I assumed that. So I'm glad that the panel is now full. Case was not scheduled, but Case was gracious enough. He had the first hour. He's able to stay. And I'm glad that you're here. I was just setting up the conversation and going to pass it to Josanna. This segment is about talking about your ideas for the revolution, your ideas for strategizing for the revolution, strategizing for a general strike. And I was talking about Shareef and how he had a good setup, but everybody will kind of give their ideas of what that will look like. But let's go ahead and pass it to Josanna, since you're kind of hosting this hour. I'll be here as an assistant. You take over.
Oof, this is my first time hosting. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy. So excited. So we are going to talk now about, and hi, Skye. That's the first time we get to talk to each other live. I'm very happy to have you here.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. We are going to talk about strategies to get together and bring on the general strike, what we should do, what are the steps that we could take. And I know Shareef has lined up his strategies, and I want to know if Unapologetic and Skye have suggestions on that. I think it's going to be a great conversation, and I'm ready to kick in. Shall we start? Ladies first. Skye, please.
Oh man. Well, I probably have the most controversial ways. I don't like electoral politics. Anyone who follows me on Twitter probably already knows that. I hate electoral politics. I believe the system is created to keep us down, and anything within that system is going to do that. I believe the best thing that can come for electoral politics is maybe delaying what they plan to do with us, but I really don't think you can progress. So I think one of the first biggest things is organization. When I look at the electoral politics, the Twitter landscape, one of the biggest problems is there's not a consensus of what people want or what people are fighting for. There are people who are fighting for actual results, and then there's people who are fighting for validation. And I do believe that's detrimental. I believe that convolutes the space so much to where the people who are actually doing things are being distracted and not being able to connect with each other. I also believe there's almost the ideology of things are getting in the way of results. I believe ideology and theory is very important, balance with action and realism. Tomorrow, let's say, there's going to be they're going to clean up a neighborhood. There's going to be a political group, and they're going to clean up a neighborhood around my area where I'm from. They're libertarians. I don't give a fuck that they're libertarians. I don't care. You're going to help clean up the hood where the fucking city employees do not care if anything happens in any, I mean, this is any of our cities, that if you grew up in poverty, this government's not going to do shit, then they're not going to do shit. So now I'm going to go there and I'm going to link up with them and we're going to clean some shit up. So I think one is balancing ideology with realism, and getting three values that your movements have. And if people can align with those, even if it looks different, let that shit ride. Let it ride. Because getting in the details and the intricacies of everything is just too much. Then leadership. Leadership is beyond one of the biggest struggles I think that we're having right now. One, people who aren't doing shit and they're not putting in the work to actually look at the landscape and see what happened. They're trying to take a position of understanding and they're doing it all in theory. You know, people who are from privileged positions trying to tell people who are actually in the struggle, you know, what's important. And it's just, leadership is very important. I think unity is as much as important as dividing. I think we need to unite some things. I think some things we need to cut off. Personally, it doesn't matter about labels. I'm willing to work with anyone that's doing certain things, but you know, imperialists, it's for anti-imperialists, working with liberals is hard for me. And working with anyone who does not believe that, you know, people overseas should have the same rights and freedoms as us, that's something that's hard for me. You know what I'm saying? Now, again, everyone's going to be different. So also sacrifice. I don't believe that most people are willing to do the sacrifice that it takes to have a revolution. It's funny, and I think people need to be invalidated with this shit. I see people always coming at Afeni in Rome. Probably one of the most, they're one of the most active activists on Twitter. They're constantly showing what they're doing. They're constantly doing some stuff. They're constantly doing movements. This is their life. They're committed to it. And there are constantly people who are pretentious and constantly trying to get in the way of this. I mean, like, instead of trying to convince these people are jokes. I don't really want anything to do with these people at all. I don't give a fuck. I'm not trying to convince them. I'm not wasting time. If I ever come back on social media, whatever, I'm just going to fucking block the fuck out of it. I'm going to have a fucking block list more than G off. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone's getting blocked. Like, bro, if you're a distraction and you're not actually doing shit, fuck it. So for me, what I've been doing is I've just been picking up more shifts because I have a small business. So I get to create and take as many clients as I can get and as I can market to. So I pick up a certain amount of clients and I'll do more. I'll take this is how much clients I need for my life. And this is how much I need for my mutual aid fund, my mutual aid fund. And within 2-3 months, I've given more than $3,000-$4,000. I don't have money. I'm not someone who has the type of money where that's not a little bit of money. That's 25% of my income. However, I've been poor up until 4 or 5 months ago. So, I mean, now me having a certain level of living, I can just give all that excess money and not feel that bad about it. Now I'm investing, you know, in crypto. Crypto was a big reason I was able to give that money. I wouldn't be able to do it without crypto. So using any means, people like, oh, you have a business. Oh, you use crypto. Oh, capitalism. I don't give a fuck. I was able to help feed people. I was able to help out my homies. I was able to do stuff. So being honest about sacrifice. Some people can give time. You don't have the extra money. That's fine. You can give time. Sometimes you can give work. Like, get out, actually do something. Like, setting a goal. For movements and leaders, you have to tell people like what the goalpost is. You can't just say, hey, do this. Or yeah, tweet and share. But people are getting way too cocky about their contribution when they're not really contributing shit. And that creates an air of delusion. Now everyone's thinking they're getting offline. They're like, you know what? I did a lot of tweeting this year. You know what I'm saying? I did really good. You didn't do shit. Like, yeah, retweeting and sharing the movement is great. But if that movement isn't creating action, then it doesn't fucking matter. And I just think everyone's so worried. We're so worried about liberal ideology and woke ideology and all this shit that I just feel like so many people are missing the point. It's helping people's life. It's changing people's life. It's actually starting up mutual aid funds. It's actually starting up parallel societies. It's going in your community and letting your community know, hey, if you need something, come to me. It's creating law. It's trying to get rid of these laws where we can't even set up community gardens. You have to get a license. A cop harassed me because I was fucking feeding the homeless. He asked me if I had a permit. They ended up not finding me or anything. But the fact that that is even a fucking problem and you need a fucking permit for that. If I want to set up a community garden, I shouldn't have to go through all the regulations of the fucking state. Let me feed my fucking communities. You're not doing it. You know what I'm saying? If I want to get somebody to fill a pothole in the street that my fucking city hasn't touched in a decade, I shouldn't have to go and ask them if I can do their work for free that they have with my taxes. Like, I feel like being separate from the government and trying to do as much shit that we can do amongst ourselves and not asking the government for shit and working on how to just give less to the government and do more for ourselves is what it's going to be. Because I think just asking and begging these people, like, it's never going to work. And I feel like we're so capable. I feel like there's so much capable people that are just keep asking instead of putting that energy into doing their own. And I was that person. Rome helped me a lot. That I wasn't asking, I just didn't know what to do. I was overcomplicating mutual aid. Bitch, make money and give it. And again, that doesn't have to be everyone's way. Everyone's going to have different skills and skill sets. If you're a creative, talk to activists in your area and be like, hey, when you go out and do this, can I go take pictures of you and spread that? Because that's influential. That sparks inspiration in people. That's very important. And you can do that by just learning how to do something on the camera and basic editing. Like, everyone has something that they contribute. But I think really it's leaders setting up, hey, this is what I need from you. This is what I need from my people. And then it's the people understanding that this is going to take sacrifice from everybody and supporting those people and trusting those people. But of course, you have to have someone you can trust.
Right.
Sorry, no,
so supporting the community. Very good lesson on that, Skye. Thank you for your contribution. I want to go ahead and hear from Shareef about his suggestions and strategies for the general strike.
Yeah, what Skye touched on is really comes on the bulk of what my plan is for a general strike is getting the community involved. Number one, if you're going to do a general strike, I think it needs to be tailored down to a state. I think a general strike for most people rings true to a national strike across the country. I think it needs to be tailored down to a state. And here's why I say that. Because you want to get other comrades in other states to participate. I don't think a general strike should be secret. Obviously, this event isn't secret. Everyone on Twitter, everyone on social media knows that we're having this general strike summit. And I think when we do a general strike, it needs to be just like this. So you do a state, then you pick a city. And then after that, you pick a city, you pick an industry. You don't want to, you want to make it simple as possible. You want everyone to be engaged. So let's say, for example, I pick the driver's industry, right? And make my point clear that when I think we do a general strike, we're not doing a general strike against, your local truck driver who's delivering groceries at a, your local grocery store. We're talking about your Amazons, your Ubers, your Lyfts, people who, drive for UPS. We're talking about the establishment, right? We're not talking about, an undocumented immigrant who has, a local pawn shop that, who's barely getting by. We're talking about $1 billion corporation shutting that shit down. So pick a city, pick a state, pick a city, pick an industry. And then once you pick an industry, the best path forward from that is having a town hall. That industry needs to decide what do they need, right? So it's great to have a general strike. It's great to say, we want better wages, but what do that particular job is looking for? I work for a living. Most of us probably work for a living. There are other things that come with the job that we need other than finance, right? So there's a litany of things that I can list down at my job other than income that my job needs to improve on, right? So I need to let my staff members know that, and also let my community know that. And the reason why you want the community involved, because, for example, let's say if I'm McDonald's, right? I'm going on strike. I want Taco Bell to know that, right? So Taco Bell and McDonald's workers all maybe have similar issues, similar problems. Because again, this is the duopoly, this is a corporation, right? They all have general the same issues. So instead of you having 50 employees going on strike, now you have 100 employees going on strike. So you definitely want to get the community involved. And with that being said, you want to have this town hall. So you want to invite all the locals involved, not just people who are going on strike, because you definitely need the mutual aid. You're going to definitely need, you're definitely going to need the crowdfund. And I'll go into why crowdfunding is important, because not every business, not every corporation have unions. Like I work for a corporation, we don't have a union, right? So even if you do get unions involved and you do want to have a general strike, how do you have a strike fund? And you do need a strike fund. So I would say you need your unions. You need to create your own strike fund, because the unions don't want to use, you're not going to be able to use, you want to use all your resources from the strike fund. So you definitely want to have your own fund set up. And that's where crowdfunding is going to come into play, because you do want to raise funds. And then you also do want other comrades to donate, not just money, but also other resources, other things that might be beneficial to those strikers. Because the first thing you want to do is think about what's beneficial to the strikers, right? Other than what they're looking for. And so why I say that community involvement is important, because once those strikers go on strike, right, they need to be thinking about their families. They need to be thinking about their kids. Who's going to take those kids to school? Who's going to help them with homework? You know, where these people are going to live. And then furthermore, also too, something I mentioned to Josanna and also to Sabrina this past week is that small business need to be involved in general strike. Because again, general strike is not for the corporation, right? We're still in the pandemic. Most businesses that suffered are small business, right? The major corporations are the one that did well during the pandemic. So a general strike is beneficial to small business. So I gave the example of drivers, right? We have tons of small businesses that use drivers, right? But a lot of those drivers also don't make a lot of money, obviously, because they work for a small business. But if, let's say, you have an Uber driver or Amazon driver, let's say on strike, they work for that small business during that time of the strike, right? Now you're incentivizing and you're also helping that small business who do need drivers, right? So this is what I'm talking about, building a community and getting everyone involved. So now that small business actually have extra hands that they didn't have before. Because a lot of businesses in New York, and I'm pretty sure this happens across the country, is not because they don't have the money to pay people. It's just that no one wants to work for them because the money is so low. It's just not enough money. And so they just don't have the extra hands to work in that business. I know a lot of businesses are suffering from that because they can't get people in. So, you know, again, if we're going to have a general strike, I think it needs to be community focused. We definitely need to have a town hall. It should not be a secret. You need everyone involved, and then start small, start in your state first, and then outreach to outside of the state. You want to get them involved, because I think it needs to snowball. So you start, let's say, with New York, and then you maybe go to Massachusetts, and then maybe go to Florida, and then you just keep building and building. You turn it into a campaign, like any other campaign when you're raising funds. I think that it needs to snowball that, and then it builds that energy. And then once you see one state can do it, another state says, "Oh, I can do it." And then, but also giving people a recipe of how to do it. You know what I mean? And so I think that is another form of community building, because people don't want to always be the first one in. But once you're the first one in and you see how it's easy to do it, then everyone else will say, "Oh, I can do that." And that's what you want to do. You want to have that O factor with a general strike. So that's why I also think staying statewide and starting small. We've already seen so many strikes already in this country already, and it hasn't been a general strike. It's just been a strike in a particular city or a particular state. I think that's the perfect move, because it's very controlled. It's very central. Again, the community knows what they need, and also too, again, echoing, talking to small business is super vital, because again, we're not talking about small business going against them. We're talking about going against the establishment. They're the ones who's the problem. So again, I think that's the best move possible.
Absolutely. I'm going to pass it back to you right here, Josanna, but I do got to step away and walk my daughter to school real quick. I'll be back. I'll be back. But back to Josanna. And to the first two speakers with their ideas, I do want to say this. I did hear a lot of overlapping, if not overlapping, things that could fit together and work together in a massive direct action sort of strategy. So I did hear that from them both so far. So I shall be back.
I just want to, I love what you were saying. I mean, I have tried to harp on the importance of small business to the left. So, because I don't, like I said, I'm a very no label club, but I would say I live my life like a socialist, which is funny that how some people try to push me out, but fine. But I have tried to harp on that because one, I just can't explain enough. There's two places to get services and resources: big corporations and small businesses. If you don't have small businesses, then you have to go to your enemy, your opposition, for services and goods. So, and then you see the corporations are purposely trying to stump out small business. I mean, they're doing insane stuff to get out small business. That should tell you something. If you're an anti-capitalist, if you're anti-corporation, if that's what you're claiming, then you have to think, if small businesses are my enemies, why the hell is the government doing everything they can to get rid of them? Like I can't say it enough. Get small businesses included. This is what would have happened if BLM, when we were doing those protests, if we were the ones armed protecting small businesses. One, they wouldn't have been able to plant those federal agents who really fucked up small businesses and try to blame it on us. And then the small businesses would have realized when all the corporations are fucking burning and they're all closed and all the businesses are going to them, they would have realized, wait, big corporations not being able to control everything is really fucking good for us, you know? And it would have been so much more for our favor. Instead, they use it against us. They use something that was right, because fuck them for what they're doing in the fucking police state. But because it wasn't an organized thing and they infiltrated, they made it work against us. And here we are. So thank you for saying that. That was amazing. Sorry, I just wanted to add that.
No.
I want to just circle and get Unapologetic in before you respond, Shareef. And then if Case has something, and then we can all just like go ahead and have a discussion. Hi, Unapologetic. Thank you for being here. Sorry for my accent when I'm saying the name, but it is what it is.
No, it's great. I love it. I love it.
Floor is yours.
Thank you all for having me. I'm very excited to be invited to this event. Listening to both of you, you all had a lot of ideas that I agree with, that are kind of in line with my direction and my vision of what direct action and a general strike would be like. So to add on to what you guys were saying, my vision of or direction I think the general strike should go in is similar to any type of direct action, really. I just think that we should work with the tools and the resources that we have. So you guys were making the point that everybody has something that they can contribute, even if it's not money. It might be your time, it might be your skills, it might be your labors or your trade or whatever it is. There's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot that goes into supporting the workers who are willing to take that risk and to walk off their job, because they're still human beings. They still have a life, they still have obligations, and they still have like a family and responsibilities and things like that. So I think anybody who wants to facilitate a general strike or direct action, even if you aren't directly going on strike, figure out what you can do to support the people who are. And the way that I think would be a great way to kind of take mutual aid and organizing for direct action to the next level would be, so me personally, I've been trained, I'm a web developer. I learned when I was in high school, so that's kind of my skill, one of my skills. So the way I look at like contributions that I can make from my particular perspective on how to better organize would be like to create a website specifically for to facilitate direct action. And so GoFundMe has been huge for people who want to engage in like mutual aid and things like that. And like Shareef said, crowdsourcing is incredibly important to any type of movement that we're going to try to do. So, but the thing with GoFundMe is it's pretty limited in what you can actually do with it. It's just really you put money in there. Somebody starts to fund the GoFundMe. You put money in there, and they distribute it to whatever they're raising the money for. But I think that we can improve upon that and make it specifically for a website specifically for facilitating activism. And it works in with what Shareef said about sort of starting on a smaller scale. So instead of like it having to be a huge national thing, similar to how everybody starts a GoFundMe page, maybe anybody who's organizing any type of action in their area, they could start a page for whatever their action is. If they need to raise money for it, they have the ability to do that. But also have a way for people who want to volunteer their services or their skills. So you can also like list what services you need. So like if you need somebody to bring food, if you need somebody for childcare, if you need somebody, maintenance workers to help, like if there's if they need some type of plumbing assistance or something at their home and they can't really afford it because they're on strike, like anything you can think of, whoever organized the event, or however many people are organizing the event, they can just list it there. If one of those skills apply to you, you can say volunteer your services and like, hey, I can do this, this, and this for you. And I think that would be a great way to really make it accessible for the community to just, because the thing with the website is it's hard to get people to see it. Even if you make a great website, it's hard to get people to see it. But with something like this, it's not really we already do a lot of spreading the word. So like Shareef did with the March for Medicare for All, that was organized almost entirely online. Everybody I talked to at the event I went to, they heard about it online, or somebody they knew heard about it online. So if we can, and similar to this General Strike Summit, if we can use our platforms on social media to direct people to those pages. So say somebody's trying to organize a strike in Buffalo or Orlando or Chicago or whatever, we can use our resources on social media to direct people to those pages. So I think that would be a great way to really, like I said, like we've all been talking about, get people to commit what they can to support workers going on strike. And I also do think it's important to have like mutual aid is very important, because these people are going on strike and they have bills to pay. So it's you can't tell people, oh, go on strike, and we don't know if you're going to get anything out of it, and we don't know if you're even going to have a job when you go back. But just do this anyway because I think it's a great idea. Like that's not a very compelling argument. So if we make the case that, hey, if you'll have food for your family, the lights are going to be on. You don't have to worry about, oh, if I have some type of emergency, I can't pay to repair my car or anything like that. You don't have to worry about anything like that. All you have to do is be committed to actually fight back and push back against your employers for whatever it is the demands are. And similar to what we were saying about starting it locally in like at a state or local level, I think that it's in different areas where different industries are more popular. And so for me, I live in Florida, so it's a big customer service area. So a lot of there's a lot of overlap in the needs, or what we need our employers to provide to workers. So it'd be easier to get everybody on the same message if we start by organizing like the customer service workers in Florida, or some factory workers in Wisconsin or something like that. So the workers in each specific state, each specific area, they know what they need from their employers. So it'd be easier to have a coherent a set of demands that everybody would be able to agree to. So I really do think sort of breaking it down into smaller, easier to organize, easier to manage level would be a great boost to a great support to the cause and actually getting our message across. Because like people mentioned Black Lives Matter through the stream, they didn't really have it was a whole national campaign, and they didn't really have a list of policy demands that they were really going with. The most coherent policy demand was defund the police, and everybody was kind of looking around and like, okay, so who's going to come up with the policy demands? Is it going to come from Chicago? Is it going to come from LA? Is it going to come from New Orleans? And so I just think organizing at a local level, it's very productive. And like we did with, like Shareef did with, and many of the people who organized March for Medicare for All, it just because you organize it at a local level doesn't mean it's not going to expand to other cities, because that turned into a 50-city day of action, and everybody was organizing it on a local level, and it turned out it was a great day of action. It was a historic day of action. So I do think that we can continue to build upon that, and like I said, everybody has something they can contribute, even if it's just cooking. If you could do whatever services you can provide, monetary support. And at the end of the day, if you really think you have absolutely nothing to contribute, get the message out there, try to raise as much support as you can. And a body in the street is also a good way to support. So if you have nothing else to give, show up and be out there.
Yeah, definitely. Much love. So let's create a case study, for lack of a better word, right? And I'm going to bring a little bit of electoral politics into this. So forgive me, Skye Daddy. That's my wheelhouse of thinking. Like I'll try to meld the two together. So let's come up with a case study. We had Joe Manchin, who single-handedly, got rid of, along with Kristen Sinema, $15 an hour minimum wage. What if we decided go to West Virginia? And from what I understand, part of it was because he owns hotels, or I don't know if it's one hotel that he owns or multiple hotels. So we said, okay, thank you. Thank you, Joe Manchin. We're going to come to your state and we're going to organize your hotels. And I don't know how much they're making, but if we can get somebody on the inside that's a worker, and let's say they're making $7.25 an hour, we're going to say, okay, we're going to prepare and organize a general strike to get them a certain amount of money. I don't want to say $15 an hour because we, God knows we need more. But in West Virginia, $15 an hour might be a good amount of money. So we say, okay, we have Hotel Joe Manchin. We want to make them lose money, right? And this goes back to my presentation of strategizing and getting into the nitty gritty. So we say, okay, we've discovered that they make $1 million a year. We want to cut that in half. Or how can we do that? Okay, around Christmas time is when they get the most amount of money, right? Okay, so we're going to organize right before Christmas time. We're going to organize the workers. We're going to gather mutual aid. So let's say Christmas time we're talking about. So let's say the summertime. We're going to raise about a certain amount of money so that the workers we're going to be able to sustain them. We're going to be able to see who rents and who doesn't rent, who can move in with another worker, who, things like that. And then we're going to raise money for mutual aid. Then we're going to find doctors who are in solidarity with us so that they can provide free healthcare. We're on the Fred Hampton leftist channel where they created free healthcare clinics in the various states, and definitely in Illinois chapter. Let's create solidarity with doctors and find out how we can get them free healthcare while they're striking. So all the different mutual aid things, you're preparing 6 months before Christmas, what you want to do. So now the time comes, we gather all the workers and say, the people who take out the garbage, the people who tidy up the beds, the people, all the workers who are making these $7.25 an hour, they're gone. So now people who would normally go to those hotels, they're starting to get 1 star. Oh, I came to the room and it smelled bad, and I found dust mites, and I found such and such. Now you're putting pressure on this hotel, right? And hopefully that's the goal. You have a very specific goal with very specific things you want to do in advance to put pressure on them, and you want to. The only thing that I would pose to everybody is, how do you not have them? I think it's called scabs, with people who would replace those workers. So, like, how would we prevent that? That's the only thing that I would like to throw to the panel.
I wouldn't worry about it.
I just want to say that it's a question that I had in my mind too, because as a person that was an undocumented immigrant at some point in this country, when you're undocumented, you're just worried if you're going to have money to eat or pay your rent, and then discover that also when you have documents, that's your only concern, because of course the inequality in the system is like, it's such an abyss, and we are dragged by working because we need to survive. So I will pose that question, and then I want to bring up the pale horse is suggesting that, sorry, is this the comment that I want to bring up? It's not letting me. Just a second. Suggesting that we could use a religious institution status, 501c. I just am trying to bring it up as a way to amass resources for supporting employees. I wanted to throw that for discussion too. Floor is yours, but no.
I'll answer Kate's question first in regards to how to worry about workers who go to work. I'll tell you this right now. I work at iPick Movie Theater. If majority of the staff do not come to work, they closing the store. They're just doing it. So even if I was a person that said, I'm against striking, I love my job, I have no problem with my money, I'm worried about my healthcare, I'm worried about all these other problems, they have to close the store. They just have to, right? Even if they say, okay, let's get someone like Josanna, who's an undocumented immigrant, right, to come in and work that day, right? Now that's a legal problem, right? Let's argument's sake, corporations always do things illegally, but now openly, they now have to address publicly, right, that they have to supplement workers by bringing undocumented immigrants to this job with this corporate, because they can't get in citizens to work at this job. So I wouldn't personally worry about workers who don't want to strike. I'll focus on those who do want to strike, because they have to close the store if the majority of that staff doesn't come to work. They just have to. And also too, one thing I was mentioning about a strike fund and starting a campaign, you starting the strike fund and the campaign to pay the workers, right? So I'm telling you like this, if a lot of the members of my job, they make $12 an hour, right? If you're telling them you're going to give them $15 an hour, all they got to do is stay home for 30 days, right? They're getting $15 an hour, 40 hours a week, and all they got to do is sit home and not go to work. They're not going to work. Most people are just not going to do it. And even if they did decide to go to work and try to double dip, again, if majority of the staff is not at work, they can't open a business. So they're still screwed out of the way. And again, you want them to try to do something like, let's get undocumented immigrants to come to work, because now you're letting the problem be public, which is good, because now everyone knows that you're treating these workers unfairly. It's being written about, it's in the paper, you can't ignore it. We have to address it. Case in point, Chipotle just recently gave nationally every employee $15 an hour. Why? Because they're afraid that their business is next. That's what you want to do. These people are not invincible. That's what people need to realize. None of these corporations are invincible. They can rise, they can fall. they can be crippled. People just got to stop being afraid. Trust me, they could be touched.
I just want to say real quick, so that you brought up a great point, and I think we got to be prepared to take advantage, right? Like you said, that we need to have the press there waiting when they make a wrong move and they start bringing in illegal or whatever. You know, there's people who would normally be their ally that once they hear, oh, you're bringing in illegals, that could be bad marketing on their behalf, or even sounds bad. Oh, Joe Manchin is bringing in illegals into his hotel. You know, so that's definitely something that, according to Project C, back to my workshop confrontation, you're going to try to make a press, a media frenzy around that topic or around that situation to kind of blow it up and put more pressure on the business.
Right.
Case study. I had a question for you. We did the first segment, lessons from the past. Is there any part of that lesson that we can kind of interject, maybe discuss the movements? Any part of that you feel would work well that we can add to another layer to this discussion here?
Yeah. So when you were away, I posed that case study of a situation of using what I learned or what I talked about in the last workshop, and created a case study of all the different things that we can use in an actual situation. I love what Shareef said. When you think of general strike, I know me, I'm thinking of like right away, the whole country got to shut down. It's like, no, that's too big, and it's just discouraging, and it just like could turn somebody off right away. Like that can never happen. Shareef said you think about it statewide, you think about it city-wise, and I brought up the idea of like targeting Joe Manchin's hotel, whatever, in West Virginia. Like that's, I don't know if he has many hotels or just one hotel, but like that, targeting that one hotel and say, okay, you don't want to give the masses $15 an hour. Okay, we're going to help organize your workers, and if they're making $725 an hour, we're going to target you and your workers and help them gain $15 an hour. And we should be able, as a community, and I mean, I can't think of a leftist that would disagree. We're coming together, raising money for mutual aid, having left doctors who could be in the area provide free healthcare, you know, so that while they're striking, they can get their teeth checked, or dentists, they can get their, you know, blood work, blood check, all those different needs that somebody would typically have. Matter of fact, maybe even more. Maybe they don't even get healthcare right now, and we could provide them with mutual aid healthcare, free healthcare, so that they can purposely strike. The only thing that I thought of that Shareef answered was that, how do we prevent scabs or people from crossing the picket line and filling those jobs? So in your case, Shareef, you said that they shut down the movie theater if a certain amount of people doesn't show up. Like, can you see them doing a quick, like training people up quickly? Like, could they recover?
No. So I used to work at Imperial Cafe. I used to work at a hotel in Chelsea. And majority of the kitchen staff literally just decided not to come to work. And that's due to the fact that I was working long hours, no pay, no days off. The whole shebang was upset. And they literally shut down for a day. And they had to they had to ask the other kitchen staff from the other location to come to the location. And so in that scenario, that's the only way they would have to do it. They would have to have enough staff at another location where both stores would be okay. In this situation, they don't, because in the movie theater, you just have too many hands. It's just too much to run the operation. So they, even though we do have multiple locations, it's just not enough. You would just have to train people. They would have to eat that cost. And just be shut down for a couple of maybe 2 weeks or so.
So that's where the strategy comes in, right? Where
right.
I know your chefs and they, I don't know if they sporadically did that, but that's right. Where, like, if we're going to systematically create an environment for a general strike, we really have to sit down, plot, strategize. Okay, Joe Manchin has 2 hotels. All right, let's make sure we talk to everybody on both sides and get the cooking staff on board. Let's get the cleaning people on board. Let's get the front end people, the receptionists on board. Let's get the concierge on board. And you have to make sure that people can talk, think about how we can organize them, because especially if you're on the outside going to organize on the people on the inside, they have to lead that. That's something also we talked about, being bottom up, because we don't know the different departments that's in that hotel. We don't know the different things or tricks that the hotel owner can do. So just strategize is so important.
And also too, we don't know the chains, right? So for example, McDonald's also owns Chipotle, right? So you don't know if Chipotle workers can go to McDonald's and there's cross training there. You don't know that, right? So you may shut down Chipotle and they say, okay, well, we'll just send people from McDonald's to go work at Chipotle. So that's information you also have to know, right? So a lot of these chains, a lot of these corporations, they own multiple businesses. So we also have to be aware of that. So when we talk about a shutdown, that's why I said industry is really important, because if I say we're going to shut down fast food, that means all fast food. So including Chipotle, that includes McDonald's, that including Taco Bell, that's including White Castle, right? So if there's any cross training, you cover that, right? So that's why that's important.
I must say I was not aware that McDonald's owns Chipotle, so that is a very key thing to know. Did they buy them or they launched them from the get-go?
I believe they bought them.
Okay, because that's what I was wondering. I hadn't heard that. Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to say real quick that somebody mentioned a legal mutual aid, like having lawyers help out too, because I didn't even think about the fact that there's certain states that's right to work states. So I don't know if it's even illegal to like try to strike. And that's where back to the workshop that I was talking about, workers have to decide on, are they willing to go to jail, you know, to strike? Are they willing to? And then we need to make sure we have enough people that go into jail to crowd the jails, because now that's how you make a media friendly, a frenzy environment where you can say, man, in this place, 1,000 people went to the jail so much that they got packed out, you know. So
you want that?
I have a question. Sorry, just because it doesn't translate to me, because in my country we are we have the right to strike. So if you strike here, you go to jail.
So that's a good
protest.
So that's a good question. This is something I always address too, but I'm gonna let the panel answer the question first. So in those states, right to work, or states that have restrictive laws on striking, if they strike, what happens? Are they arrested simply because they're striking, or does it void sort of their union? Like what happens? Whoever knows the answer to that can chime in.
So I was looking into this because something else that I want to talk about at some point during this summit is the union leadership and how they basically sold out their workers, and how to do some type of mass worker action. It like normally general strike is something that's spoken about, that's being done by unions. But I just think that's, and I really do have to talk about this in some other panel. I just think that's not a reality at this point, to rely on this corrupt union leadership to ever actually organize these type of general strikes. So I think it needs to come from the workers. But as I was looking into this, there's a lot of goofy ass rules about who can organize strikes, and if you do go on strike and without like union approval, it violates the collective bargaining agreements, and you could be fired, and your contract could be terminated. And
so that's like that. What it is. It's not necessarily a Josanna that you're going to be arrested for striking. It does something with the union agreement. Is always been my understanding, because when people say I think it's a concern, but I never understood, what does that mean you can't strike? Do you mean they physically just go out?
Because there's certain protections for like a strike, technically.
Right.
So they can't just fire you if you go on strike.
Right. But what we have to understand when we're in this particular argument, specifically, Josanna is an example. Why are we having rules? She's a person who believes in the entire structure thinking of that people have been telling us that needs to be done away with. that's why it's hard to understand. What do you mean we can't strike? I'm a human. I have legs. I'm just going to walk out and strike. What does that mean? Because we're talking about the confines, really, of the ruling class has set up.
Yeah, and I say fuck that, because I think that's honestly an obstacle to preventing
She's saying, forget that. Forget that. But there's not, the people who are in that situation who have kids and families may not have that same take on whether or not we should just do that. So that's
why legal services are important.
That's the concern we have to address. So I just wanted to make sure I said that, and we got about 4 minutes, Josanna, for the rest of this. So just let you know.
Yeah. Also, so what I'm seeing here so far is that we need mostly to create a strike fund and maybe food banks, because people will need support in structural means, and a way to also get medical support involved and legal support involved. So if I'm in the correct lane, we need medical support involved, legal support involved, in volunteering basis, and also create a food bank and a support and a financial support for the families that will get the blow in case of a strike.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was talking about with the services on the website, like any services you could think of. You just list it there, and anybody who has that type of skill set that can volunteer and see what they can do to help out.
I would add childcare too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Josanna, I do see some of our next panelists in the waiting room. So I do want to give you the opportunity, Josanna, to kind of close this out. I'm just helping her because this is her first time. Everybody, just so you know, this is her first time hosting, and she was very, very excited about it. But she did a great job.
Great.
But we will be transitioning here. So we just want to thank the panel for this discussion. Thank you, Case, for staying on for an extra hour. Skye, always contributing the fire. Your views should be the views that decide the Overton window, if you get what I'm saying. Like, it should be the moderate. Your views are the moderate, and everything else is based on that. But so Josanna, take it away. Go ahead.
I just want to thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Skye. Thank you, Unapologetic. Thank you, Case. Thank you, Shareef. I also want to ask you if you have any last considerations. I want to thank my Brazilian comrades. There are in the comments. Tudo bem, amo vocês. Obrigada pelo apoio, obrigada pelo suporte. Vamos apoiar o General Strike Summit. É o fim de semana inteiro. Tem uma programação maravilhosa. Just translating to them what we're doing here. And I want to thank also my comrades from London that are here supporting too. And all of you, FHL family, I'm very happy to be here. I'm happy that was my first time. Thank you, CJ, for supporting me in the test.
Yeah, and I want to say, I'm going to pass it back to you for your last final comments, but I want to say we're doing it internationally. Like, this is very, very important that we look at this as an earth thing, as a worker thing internationally. So I just wanted to say that, and it's beautiful to see the different languages being spoken on here. So I'll pass it back to you for your final thoughts.
Just wanted to ask if our guests have anything they want to promote, and a quick goodbye, because I see that the other guests are already here, and the next panel is fire. So quick run around. Shareef, I know we're going to promote the Pfizer action.
If there's anyone sorry. Go ahead. If there's anyone watching that can do closed caption for FHL, that would be really good. Whether it's Spanish or English, that would help other people who are deaf or speak other languages be able to watch. I think that's a good idea. So if you can do closed captions, you can hit them up.
Absolutely. That is something. Sorry about that. That is something we're working on in the background. We were just having this same discussion with a disability rights activist who's helping us to get up to speed, on getting that process done. So absolutely, thank you for that.
Shareef?
Any last
well, you
thoughts?
already.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was saying that you guys did a beautiful job yesterday promoting the Occupy Pfizer action this Monday. So yeah, thank you guys. You guys are always in community. I love the work that you guys are always doing, and I would love to continue to keep having discussions about having a general strike, and hopefully sometime in the near future we can actually physically organize one.
That is absolutely the goal. That is the end goal. Unapologetic.
I just want to say it was a great panel. It was a great discussion. So far, y'all 2 for 2 with the panels. I don't really have much to promote. I will say that everybody should stick around for the weekend. I will be here on and off. I'm going to be around for the next hour. I think they're going to be some really great discussions had, and hopefully we make some progress and really start building organizations for direct action and ways to support the community. That's what I'm looking forward to for this weekend.
All right. Can I ask if anyone's able to stay, Shareef or Unapologetic or Skye? Are you able to stay on? If you are, the next discussion is about capitalism and how that's the problem. So I figure everybody here may want to